The trash bin behind the food stall smelled awful, but Risha dug through it anyway. Her clawed hands pulled out half-eaten fruits and stale bread that the vendor had thrown away. Her stomach growled loud enough that a passing merchant gave her a disgusted look. She didn't care anymore. Pride died 3 months ago when her clan threw her out. Risha's scales, once bright purple and shimmering, now looked dull and gray. Dirt caked between them. Her wings, folded tight against her back, had tears in the membranes from sleeping in tight spaces. The other Dracari who lived on Waystation Talus walked past her with their heads high, pretending she didn't exist. "Look at the beggar dragon," someone whispered loud enough for her to hear. "I heard she refused to bond with the family her clan chose." Stupid female. Risha's jaw tightened, but she kept digging through the trash. She found a protein bar that was only a little moldy. Good enough. The broken ring section of the station never saw maintenance crews. Lights flickered overhead. Water dripped from broken pipes. Dozens of species lived here, all of them too poor or too wanted by authorities to live anywhere better. Risha fit right in now. She took her scraps to a corner near the south docking bay and sat down on the metal floor. The protein bar tasted like chemicals, but it was food. She ate slowly, making it last. That's when the explosion happened. The entire section shook. Risha's head snapped up as a fireball erupted from a housing stack 3 levels down. Alarms started blaring. People screamed and ran in every direction. Black smoke poured into the corridors. "Chemical fire," someone yelled. "Everyone out." Risha stood up, her food forgotten. Chemical fires burned hotter than normal flames. Most species couldn't survive those temperatures. She watched people flee, pushing and shoving to escape. Then she heard a child scream, cutting through all the noise. High-pitched and terrified, Risha's head turned toward the burning building. Her enhanced hearing picked up the sound again. 4th level, east side. Someone was still in there. Station security hadn't arrived yet. The emergency teams were probably stuck in traffic on the upper rings where important people lived. Nobody cared about the broken ring fast enough to save anyone. The child screamed again. Risha's feet moved before her brain caught up. She ran toward the burning building while everyone else ran away. Heat blasted her face as she got closer. The entrance was engulfed in orange and blue flames that licked up the walls. "Are you crazy?" A Zenti merchant grabbed her arm. "You'll die in there." Risha yanked her arm free and jumped into the fire. The heat hit her like a physical force, but her Dracari biology handled it. Her scales were designed to resist fire. It hurt, sure, but it wouldn't kill her like it would kill most other species. She could barely see through the smoke. Her eyes watered and stung. "Where are you?" she called out, her voice rough from the smoke. "Help!" The child's voice came from above. "Please help me." Risha found the stairs and climbed. The metal was hot enough to glow red, but she ignored it. 2nd level. 3rd level. The smoke got thicker. Part of the ceiling collapsed behind her, cutting off her exit route. Didn't matter. "Keep going." 4th level. She followed the voice to a small living unit. The door had jammed shut from the heat warping the metal. Risha grabbed it with both hands and pulled. Her muscles screamed. Her already weak body had almost nothing left to give. The door tore free. Inside, a human child huddled under a collapsed shelf. He looked maybe 7 years old, with dark hair and wide, terrified eyes. His face was covered in soot. "I've got you," Risha said. She lifted the shelf with the last of her strength and pulled the boy out. He couldn't have weighed more than 20 kilos, but in her weakened state, he felt like 100. "Hold on to me," she told him. The boy wrapped his arms around her neck. Risha tucked him against her chest and spread her wings over him like a shield. The stairs were gone now, consumed by fire. She'd have to jump. She ran toward the window. The heat intensified. Her scales started to crack from the temperature. She crashed through the broken glass and into open air 0.4 levels down. She angled her body so she'd take the impact. Her wings, torn as they were, caught just enough air to slow their fall. They hit the ground hard. Pain exploded through Risha's back and legs. Something cracked. She couldn't tell if it was the pavement or her bones. The boy rolled free, coughing but alive. Risha tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't work. Her vision went blurry. The world spun. She saw the boy's face above her, tears streaking through the soot. "Don't die," he begged. "Please don't die. You saved me. I'm okay, Shalit." Blood leaked from her mouth. "You're safe now." Station security finally arrived, their boots pounding on the metal floor. Someone tried to take the boy away. "No," he screamed, clinging to Risha. "No, don't leave her. She saved me. The fire lady saved me." Rough hands lifted Risha. Everything hurt. Someone was talking about medical care, about charity wards, about documentation. The words blurred together. The boy held her hand the entire way, his small fingers wrapped around one of her claws. "My name is Owen," he whispered. "What's yours?" "Risha," she managed to say. "Thank you, Risha. Thank you for saving me." She wanted to tell him it was nothing, that anyone would have done the same. But the darkness pulled her under before she could speak. Her last thought before unconsciousness took her was simple. At least the child was safe. That was all that mattered. Pain woke Risha 3 times in the first day. Each time, medical staff pushed more medicine into her system, and she drifted back into darkness. The 4th time she woke, her mind was clearer. She lay on a thin cot in a room with peeling paint and flickering lights. The charity ward. Bottom-tier medical care for people with no money. Her whole body ached. Bandages covered her arms and legs where the scales had cracked from the heat. Her wings were strapped down to keep them immobile while they healed. "You're awake." A small voice came from beside her cot. Risha turned her head. Owen sat in a chair next to her bed, his legs swinging because they didn't reach the floor. Someone had cleaned the soot off his face and given him fresh clothes. "You stayed," Risha said. Her throat felt like sandpaper. "They tried to take me away, but I said no. I told them you saved me, and I wasn't leaving you alone." Owen held up a juice box. "Want some? It's apple flavor. Humans like it." Risha didn't have the heart to tell him. She'd never tasted apple juice. She took a small sip through the straw he held up to her mouth. It was sweet. Different. "Where's your family?" she asked. Owen's face fell. "I don't know. The bad people took me from my dad a long time ago. They said he'd come get me, but he never did. Then the building caught fire and the lady watching me ran away." Risha's chest tightened. "Kidnappers. The boy had been taken by kidnappers. I'm sure your father is looking for you," she said softly. "Maybe." Owen didn't sound convinced. "But you found me. You came into the fire and got me. Nobody else did that." Over the next 2 days, Owen barely left her side. He brought her food from the ward's cafeteria, told her stories about his life before the kidnapping, and drew pictures with crayons a nurse had given him. Station security came by to ask questions, but their investigation moved slowly. They had bigger problems than one missing human child. Risha learned that Owen's father worked up in the big ships and protected people from bad guys. The boy clearly loved his father, talking about him with pride and longing. It broke Risha's heart that on the 3rd day, everything changed. Alarms blared across the station. Not fire alarms this time. Military alerts. Risha sat up in her cot, ignoring the pain. Other patients in the ward looked around in confusion that a nurse ran past, her face pale. "Human warships just came out of FTL. Lots of them. They're demanding docking access." Owen perked up. "Warships? Big ones. Really big ones, kid. A whole battle group." The boy's eyes went wide. "That's my dad. He came. I knew he'd come." Nobody believed him. The nurses exchanged looks that said the poor kidnapped child was imagining things. But Risha saw hope blazing in Owen's face and didn't have the heart to doubt him. 20 minutes later, heavy boots echoed in the corridor. Station security scattered as a team of human soldiers in combat gear swept through the ward. They moved with precision and purpose, scanning everything with handheld devices. A man in an officer's uniform walked behind them. He was tall, with short gray hair and a face carved from stone. His eyes swept the room until they locked onto Owen. "Owen!" The man's voice cracked. "Dad!" Owen jumped off his chair and ran. The officer dropped to his knees and caught his son in his arms, holding him like he'd never let go. His shoulders shook. Grown men in military uniforms around him looked away, giving their commander privacy for his tears. Risha watched from her cot. Something warm and painful twisting in her chest. This was what love looked like. This was what family meant. After a long moment, the officer pulled back and checked Owen over, his hands shaking as he touched his son's face and arms, making sure he was real and whole. Are you hurt? Did they hurt you? I am okay, Dad. I'm okay because of her. Owen pointed at Risha. She saved me from the fire. She ran in when everyone else ran out. The officer's gaze shifted to Risha. He stood slowly and walked to her cot. Up close, she could see the exhaustion in his face, the dark circles under his eyes. This man had not slept properly in a long time. You saved my son. It wasn't a question. I did what anyone would do, Risha said. No, his voice was firm. Most people would have run. You didn't. You went into a burning building and pulled him out. He looked at her bandages, her cracked scales, the charity ward around them. His jaw tightened. How long have you been here? 3 days. And before the fire? Where did you live? Risha didn't answer. The officer's eyes narrowed as he took in her thin frame, her dull scales, the obvious signs of long-term malnutrition. He turned to one of his soldiers. Give me a medical team from the fleet. Now, and prepare a transfer shuttle. Sir, station authorities might object to. I don't care what they object to. The officer's voice cut like a blade. This woman saved my son's life, and she's lying in a charity ward like discarded trash. That ends now. He turned back to Risha. My name is Admiral David Cross. You saved the most precious thing in my universe. I don't care what it costs or what it takes. That debt will be paid. You're coming with us. Risha stared at him, unable to process the words. I don't understand. You will. David's expression softened slightly. My people take care of their own, and anyone who protects our children becomes our own. You'll never be alone again. Owen grabbed her hand. Please come with us. Please. Risha looked at the boy's hopeful face, then at the Admiral's determined one. For the first time in months, something that felt like hope flickered her chest. The human medical bay looked like something from a dream. Clean white walls. Equipment that hummed quietly and actually worked. Doctors and nurses who smiled at Risha instead of treating her like a burden. She lay in a bed that adjusted to her body, soft and warm. While machines monitored her healing, it had been 4 days since Admiral Cross brought her aboard his flagship. 4 days of regular meals, proper medicine, and care that made her old life seem like a nightmare. She was finally waking from that a doctor named Sarah checked her scales, running a scanner over the cracks that were already starting to heal. Your people have remarkable regenerative abilities. With proper nutrition and rest, you'll be back to full strength in 2 weeks. I've never healed this fast before, Risha admitted. That's because you were starving. Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. Your body was eating itself to survive. No wonder you couldn't heal properly. The door slid open and Owen bounced in, carrying a data pad covered in colorful drawings. He'd visited every single day, usually multiple times. Look what I made. He held up the pad, showing a picture of a purple dragon carrying a small human through orange flames. That's you saving me. Dad says I should remember important things by drawing them. Risha's throat tightened. It's beautiful. Owen climbed into the chair next to her bed, the same way he'd done in the charity ward. Some things didn't change, even when everything else did. Dad's been really busy, Owen said. He's looking for the bad people who took me. He says they took other kids too, and he's going to find them all. Risha had heard rumors from the medical staff. Admiral Cross had deployed intelligence teams across 3 sectors, hunting for the kidnapping ring. The humans weren't just investigating. They were preparing for war. Later that evening, David himself came to visit. He looked less exhausted now that his son was safe, but there was a hard edge to his expression. How are you feeling? He asked Risha. Better than I have in months. Thank you for this. Don't thank me for basic decency. David pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. I've been looking into your background. The Drackery clan of Talus Prime. They disowned you 8 months ago. Risha's scales prickled with old shame. They told you. They didn't have to. It's in the station records. You refused a bonding arrangement, and they cut you off completely. Took everything you had. David's expression darkened. What kind of people abandon family for choosing their own path? It's our way, Risha said quietly. Drakari don't value individual choice. The clan decides everything. Bonds, careers, where you live. I refused and became nothing to them. You're not nothing. Owen spoke up from his chair. You're a hero. David nodded. My son is right. You risked your life for a child you didn't know. That's not nothing. That's everything. He leaned forward, his voice serious. I want to offer you citizenship in human territory. A home. Resources to start over. Whatever you need. Risha couldn't speak for a moment. Why would you do this for me? Because you saved my son when you had every reason to save yourself. You were starving, weak, and had nothing to gain. But you went into that fire anyway. David's voice roughened. Do you know how long I searched for Owen? 117 days. Every single day, wondering if he was scared, if he was hurt, if I'd ever see him again. You ended that nightmare. You brought him back to me. I just did what was right. Exactly. And humans remember people who do what's right. We remember, and we repay. David stood up. Think about my offer. There's no pressure, no strings attached. Whatever you decide, you'll always have a place with us. After he left, Owen scooted his chair closer to Risha's bed. Are you going to stay with us? Please say yes. I don't know yet, Risha said honestly. This is all very new to me. Dad really means it, you know? When he makes promises, he keeps them. Always. Owen yawned, his eyes drooping. Can I stay here until I fall asleep? Sometimes I have bad dreams about the fire. Of course. Risha watched the boy drift off, his small hand holding one of her claws. She thought about her clan, who had thrown her away for being too emotional, too caring. They'd called her weak for refusing a loveless bond. They'd stripped her of everything and turned their backs. But these humans, these strangers, had taken her in without hesitation. They'd given her the best medical care available. They'd treated her with respect and kindness. Admiral Cross had personally ensured she wanted for nothing, all because she'd saved one child. The next morning, Risha made her decision. When David came to check on her, she met his eyes and said, I accept your offer. I'd like to stay. The Admiral's face broke into a genuine smile. Welcome to the family. Owen cheered and hugged her carefully, mindful of her healing scales. Yes, you're going to love it. We have game nights and movie nights, and Dad makes really good breakfast food. Well, sometimes. Well, he's not busy saving the galaxy. Risha laughed, the sound rusty and unpracticed. When was the last time she'd laughed? She couldn't remember. That afternoon, a human officer brought her new clothes and a data pad with citizenship papers. Her official status changed from stateless refugee to citizen of the Human Federation with a few digital signatures. She had a home now. Not a corner in a broken station, but a real home. People who cared whether she lived or died. A small human boy who'd adopted her as his hero. Risha looked at her reflection in the medical bay's mirror. Her scales were already starting to regain their purple shine. Her wings, properly treated, would heal without permanent damage. She was still thin, but regular meals were fixing that. She barely recognized herself. For the first time since her clan had cast her out, Risha felt something she'd forgotten existed. She felt hope. 2 weeks after Risha came aboard, Admiral Cross called a briefing in the command center. Risha attended, still getting used to her new position as a civilian advisor. Her scales had regained their purple shimmer, and her wings had healed completely. She felt stronger than she had in years. We've located the kidnapping ring's main base, David announced to the assembled officers. A holographic display showed a converted freighter hidden in the Ashura Nebula. Intelligence confirms they're holding 47 children from 12 different species. Murmurs ran through the room. 47 children. The number made Risha's blood run cold. Commander Patricia Hayes, a short woman with sharp eyes, leaned forward. What's the plan, sir? We're going in. Full assault. We extract every single child and shut this operation down permanently. David's voice was ice. No negociations. No mercy for anyone who hurts children. An officer from station security appeared on the view screen, his face pinched with bureaucratic concern. Admiral Cross, this is outside your jurisdiction. The Ashura Nebula falls under coalition law. You can't just watch me. David cut the feed. Patricia grinned. I love it when you do that. Risha spoke up from her position at the back. I want to help. The room went quiet. David turned to look at her. Risha, you're a civilian now. You don't have to. Those children are scared and alone, just like Owen was. Just like I was. Risha stepped forward. I have combat training from my time with the Drakari Defense Forces. I can survive environments most species can't. I can help. David studied her for a long moment. This will be dangerous. So I was running into a burning building. I did it anyway. Patricia stood up. She's got a point, Admiral. And having someone who can handle extreme conditions could be useful. The nebula's radiation levels are nasty. Phoenix. David nodded slowly. But you follow orders. Patricia's in command of the ground team. What she says goes. Understood. The next 3 days were intense preparation. Patricia's team of 12 Marines accepted Risha without question. They'd all heard the story of how she saved Owen. To them, she was already one of their own. You ever use one of these? A Marine named Rodriguez handed her a plasma rifle. Similar weapons, different design. Risha checked the weapon's weight and balance. I can manage. Good. Remember, we go in quiet. Extract the kids first. Fight only if we have to. Patricia marked positions on a tactical map. Risha, you'll breach the hull here. The radiation in this section is too high for us, but your biology can handle it. Risha nodded. Her scales could withstand radiation levels that would kill most species in minutes. It made her perfect for the dangerous entry point. Owen found her in the armory that evening, watching her check her equipment. His face was worried. You're going to fight the bad people. I'm going to help save the other children they took. Risha knelt down to his level. Just like someone saved you. But what if you get hurt? What if you don't come back? His voice cracked. Risha pulled him into a gentle hug, careful of her claws. I'll come back. I promise. You better. You're my big sister now. Dad said so. The words hit Risha harder than she expected. Big sister. Family. Things she'd never thought she'd have again. I'll come back, she repeated. Sisters don't break promises. Launch day arrived cold and early. The strike team loaded into a stealth transport designed to slip through the nebula's interference. David came to see them off, Owen at his side. Bring them home, David told Patricia. Every single one, sir. David turned to Risha. Thank you for doing this. You don't owe us anything more than you've already given. Yes, I do. Risha looked at Owen. I owe it to every child who's waiting for someone to save them. Like he waited for you. The flight through the Ashura Nebula took 6 hours. Radiation battered the ship's shields, creating displays of purple and green light outside the viewports. The converted freighter appeared on their sensors, running dark to avoid detection. 2 minutes to insertion, the pilot called out. Patricia checked her weapon one last time. Remember, quiet until we can't be quiet anymore. Kids first, always. Risha moved to the airlock, specially modified for her exit. She wore a light pressure suit that left her scales exposed to the radiation. It would hurt, but she could take it. 30 seconds. She thought about Owen, sleeping safe in his father's quarters. She thought about 47 other children who had no idea rescue was coming. She thought about every parent who went asleep not knowing if their child was alive. Go! Risha launched herself into space. The radiation hit her immediately, burning her scales like acid. She gritted her teeth and flew toward the freighter's hull, using the small thrusters built into her suit. Her claws found purchase on the metal plating. She planted the cutting charge exactly where Patricia had marked on her heads-up display. The device hummed to life, burning through the hull in a controlled pattern. 60 seconds later, a section of metal fell inward. Risha dropped through into darkness. Her eyes adjusted quickly. She was in a maintenance corridor, just as intelligence had predicted. Emergency lights cast everything in red. She moved silently toward the primary airlock and activated the manual override. The outer door opened. Patricia and her team slipped inside like ghosts. Good work, Patricia whispered. Now let's go get those kids. They moved through the ship in practice formation, weapons ready. Somewhere ahead, 47 children waited. And Risha was going to make sure every single one of them got to go home, just like Owen had. The corridors of the converted freighter smelled like rust and fear. Risha followed Patricia's team through the darkness. every sense alert. They passed empty storage bays and abandoned crew quarters. The ship felt bigger on the inside than it looked from outside. Rodriguez held up a fist. Everyone stopped. He pointed at a corner ahead where two guards stood, looking bored. They wore mismatched armor and carried weapons that had seen better days. Not professional soldiers, just criminals. Patricia made a quick gesture. Two Marines moved like shadows. The guards went down without making a sound. The team kept moving. Holding area should be 2 levels down. Patricia whispered into the comm, "Stay sharp." They found the stairs and descended. The smell got worse. Unwashed bodies, waste, and something else. Despair had a smell, Risha realized. It hung in the air like poison. The holding area was a converted cargo bay. Cages lined the walls, each one holding 1 or 2 children. Some slept. Some stared at nothing with empty eyes. A few looked up when the team entered, but most didn't react. They'd learned that hoping for rescue only brought more pain, that Risha's heart broke into pieces. "Sweet mercy," Rodriguez breathed. Patricia's jaw tightened. "Get them out. Now. All of them." The Marines spread out, using plasma cutters on the cage locks. The children flinched at first, expecting punishment. But when they saw humans in military gear, some started to cry with relief. "It's okay," Risha said softly to a small Zenti girl who cowered in the corner of her cage. "We're here to take you home." The girl looked at Risha's scales and wings with wide eyes. "Are you an angel?" "No, just someone who understands what it's like to be scared." She carried the girl out of the cage. Other Marines were doing the same, gathering children and doing quick medical checks. 47 children. Some were human. Others were species Risha had never seen before. All of them were too thin, too quiet, too broken. "We've got them all," Patricia reported in her comm, requesting immediate extraction. "Negative." David's voice came through tight with tension. "The syndicate leader just activated a lockdown. The whole ship is sealed. You're trapped." An alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed. Automated doors slammed shut throughout the ship. "Well, that's not good," Rodriguez said, and a voice boomed through the ship's speakers. "Humans. How predictable. You think you could just take what's mine?" Patricia's eyes narrowed. "That must be Quell. Intelligence said he runs this operation. I have explosive charges throughout this ship. Leave now or everyone dies. You have 5 minutes to decide." The children started crying. Some of the older ones pulled the younger ones close, trying to comfort them even though they were terrified themselves. Patricia opened a channel. "Admiral, I heard. Do not leave those children. We'll find another way." "With respect, sir, we don't have another way. We're sealed in." Risha looked at the crying children, then at the ceiling. Her mind raced. Converted freighter. Old design. That meant old systems. She'd studied ship layouts during her time with the Dracari Defense Forces. "The environmental controls," she said suddenly. "Where's the command center?" "Top level, why?" "These old freighters have manual overrides for fire suppression. If I can reach the command center, I can flood it with heat. Extreme heat. Too much for most species to survive." Patricia caught on immediately. "But not too much for you." "Exactly. While Quell and his people flee, someone can disable the explosives. That's suicide. You'll be alone up there. Better than letting 47 children die." Risha looked at the scared faces around her. "I didn't save Owen just to let these kids burn." Patricia made a decision. "Do it. Rodriguez, you're with her. Get her to that command center." They moved fast, climbing through maintenance shafts to avoid the sealed doors. Rodriguez cut through barriers while Risha used her strength to pry open stub panels. The command center was at the ship's core, heavily guarded. "I count 8 hostiles," Rodriguez whispered, peering around corner. "I'll draw them off. You get to the environmental controls." Before Rodriguez could argue, Risha stepped into the open. 8 weapons immediately pointed at her. "Hello, boys." She ran. They chased. Years of surviving on the streets had taught her how to move fast in tight spaces. She led them away from the command center, taking hits from plasma fire that burned her scales but didn't slow her down. Rodriguez slipped past while they were distracted. Smart human, Risha doubled back, using her wings to jump between levels. She crashed through a window into the command center. A Vosrine male sat at the controls, his green skin pale with fear. "Quid, you're the dragon," he said. "The one who saved the Admiral's brat. And you're the one who steals children. It's just business. Nothing personal. It's personal to every parent who cried themselves to sleep wondering if their child was alive." Risha moved toward the environmental controls. "Time to end this business." Quell pulled a weapon, but Risha was faster. She knocked it from his hand and grabbed him by the throat, lifting him off the ground. "The explosives. Where's the control?" He pointed at a panel with a shaking hand. Risha threw him aside and ripped the panel open. She tore out wires until the blinking red lights went dark. Then she activated the fire suppression system override. Instead of flooding the room with suppressant foam, she reversed it. Heat poured in, the temperature climbing rapidly. Quell screamed and ran for the door. His guards followed, unable to handle the temperature. Within seconds, the command center was empty except for Risha. She stood in the heat, her scales glowing, and opened the channel to Patricia. "Explosives disabled. Hostiles fleeing. Get those children out of here. What about you?" "I'll be fine. Just get them home." Through the viewports, she could see human ships closing in. Marines were boarding. The Syndicate's people were surrendering or dying. It was over. Risha sat down in Quell's chair and let herself breathe. 47 children were going home. That was worth anything. News of the rescue spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every major network ran the story. 47 children from 12 different species, saved by a human military operation. The footage showed crying parents reuniting with their kids. It showed Admiral Cross holding a small Zenny girl who had no family to return to, promising she'd be taken care of. It showed Patricia Hayes and her team receiving medals. And it showed Risha, the Drackery female who had walked through fire twice to save children she didn't know. Risha watched the news coverage from her new quarters aboard the flagship, uncomfortable with all the attention. Owen sat beside her, eating popcorn and pointing at the screen every time she appeared. "You're famous," he said happily. "Everyone knows you're a hero now." "I'm not a hero. I just did what needed to be done. That's what heroes say." Owen grinned. "Dad told me that." A message notification popped up on her datapad. Risha opened it and her expression darkened. It was from her former clan on Talus Prime. "Honored Risha," it began. "We have seen your recent accomplishments and recognize that perhaps we were hasty in our previous judgment. The clan would like to extend an offer to restore your status and welcome you back into the family. Your newfound reputation brings honor that we wish to share." Risha read it twice, feeling nothing but cold anger. They'd thrown her away when she had nothing. Now that she was famous, now the humans celebrated her, suddenly the clan wanted her back. Not because they were sorry, not because they realized they'd been wrong, only because her reputation made them look good. She deleted the message without responding. "Bad news?" Owen asked, noticing her expression. "No, just taking out the trash." That evening, Admiral Cross invited her to his private quarters for dinner. Owen had helped cook, which meant the pasta was slightly overcooked and there was cheese on everything, but it tasted wonderful. "I received a formal commendation request from the Coalition Council," David said over the meal. "They want to give you a medal for the rescue operation." "I don't need medals." "I told them you'd say that." David smiled slightly. "So I propose an alternative. How would you feel about working as a liaison officer, helping bridge understanding between humans and other species? You understand both sides in a way most people don't." Risha considered this. "I'd like that. Making sure what happened to those children never happens again." "Exactly." Owen bounced in his seat. "Does that mean you're staying? Like staying? Forever? If your father will have me." "Are you kidding? You're family now." Owen looked at his father. "Right, Dad? She's family." David's expression softened. "If she wants to be." Risha felt something tight in her chest loosen. Family. The word meant something different now than it had with her clan. This wasn't about blood or obligation. It was about choice. About people who stood beside you when everything was burning. "I like that very much." Owen cheered and hugged her so hard he nearly fell off his chair. David raised his glass in a quiet toast. Outside the viewport, stars streaked past as the ship traveled through FTL. Months passed. Risha settled into her new role, working with different species to improve cooperation and child protection laws. She testified before the Coalition Council about the kidnapping ring. She helped create new protocols for finding missing children across multiple jurisdictions. She also became a permanent fixture in David and Owen's lives. She attended Owen's school events. She learned to play human board games, though she still didn't understand why anyone would enjoy losing money in something called Monopoly. She celebrated human holidays she'd never heard of, eating strange foods and learning strange traditions. The Drackery clan tried to contact her 3 more times. Each time, she ignored them. They were her past. This was her future point 1 year after the fire. Owen insisted on having a party. Not for his birthday, but for what he called Rescue Day. The day Risha had pulled him from the flames. "It's the day my real family started," he explained. "You, me, and Dad." The party was small. Patricia and some of her Marines came. Medical staff who'd treated Risha. A few of the families whose children had been rescued from the syndicate sent gifts and messages. Owen gave Risha a present wrapped in bright paper. Inside was a painting he'd worked on for weeks. It showed a purple dragon with glowing scales carrying a small human boy through orange flames. But this time, in the background, there was a figure watching. A man with stars on his shoulders, waiting to welcome them both home. T the bottom, in Owen's careful handwriting, it said, "My big sister, the hero." Risha's eyes burned. Not from fire this time, but from something else. Something warm and overwhelming. "Thank you," she managed to say. Owen hugged her. David put a hand on her shoulder. For a moment, they stood like that, 3 people who had found each other in the darkness and decided to be family. Later, when the guests had left and Owen had fallen asleep on the couch, David and Risha stood by the viewport, looking at the stars. "Do you regret it?" David asked quietly. "Leaving your clan? Your old life?" Risha thought about the Drackery who had raised her to be cold and perfect, who had valued status over compassion, who had thrown her away for having feelings. Then she looked at Owen, sleeping peacefully because he knew he was safe and loved. She thought about Patricia and her Marines, who treated her as an equal. She thought about every rescued child who sent her messages saying thank you. "No," she said, "I don't regret anything. Being too emotional, caring too much, refusing to be what they wanted me to be. It all led me here, to people who value the same things I do." "Family isn't about blood," David said. "It's about who you'd walk through fire for." Risha smiled, her scales catching the starlight. "And who walks through fire for you?" She'd lost everything once. Her clan, her status, her pride. She'd been homeless and starving, with nothing but her principles to keep her company. But those principles had led her into a burning building to save a child. And that single act of compassion had given her something her clan never could: a real family. A true home. A purpose worth living for. Risha looked at her reflection in the viewport. Her scales gleamed purple and healthy. Her wings were strong. But the biggest change wasn't physical. For the first time in her life, she knew what it meant to belong, and she would never be alone again.